no attention to the news, nor do I purchase tabloid papers. In my opinion, true journalism has faded away. 90% of what people are force-fed about me is completely false and slander. The only time anyone should believe anything is if it comes directly from me. Well, 10% of my life is public, and 10% is lies created by the fake news media, and the other 80% is private, so nobody will ever know. There's an old saying, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will invent it, and that's precisely what happened. People will continue to postulate, assuming certain stories are true without any evidence or research. I never testified at trial, so nobody can claim I agreed to anything. These ridiculous expert reports are complete works of fiction, and nobody should be referencing them. It's bewildering when people focus on my adolescence, claiming I was bullied. So fucking what? It was no more or less than any other kid, so who fucking cares? Everyone in school gets bullied and is bullied. People need to get a fucking life and stop embellishing stories to push their agendas. I always had a lot of friends, and as a teen I actually worked as a professional ballet dancer, and during competitions at Russian studios. I was a very social teen. People don't know my life, they weren't there. Also, I was hardly, if ever, on the internet. I was almost never on the internet. I rarely spent any time online. There has been an absolute destruction of the truth, and people need affirmation instead of information. I was in no way, ever, I repeat, ever, did I ever have any alias internet accounts. Zero evidence exists linking me to any alias internet accounts. The police leaking unsubstantiated theories to the press is not evidence. At trial, it was exposed that cowardly internet stalkers impersonated me, one of them being David Diamato, a client of mine from New York City, introduced to me by my lawyer, Romeo Salta. The police, as usual, leaked unsubstantiated theories to the press before trial, trying to control their narrative. It's slander and it's lies. I'm not accustomed to relitigating issues of the past, but I've been attacked for years. People are so stupid. I had a lot of photos of myself because it was my job. It was my job to have photos of myself. If stalkers steal my photos and repost them and impersonate me, I find it pathetic. The imbeciles in the failing media attributed hundreds of alias internet accounts to me, but these accounts are still in use and they look like complete morons for making defamatory accusations. How can anyone prove who posted something online unless they've seen them doing it with their own eyes? It's all lies and fake news. It's incoherent stupidity. Firstly, I adore animals, and secondly, I was never questioned, charged, or convicted of any animal cruelty. Don't believe the lying fake news media. As I've said, the doctor reports done at my trial are all lies and can't be referenced. I'm told some irrelevant losers online were trying desperately to link me to some crush videos. These imbeciles, whom I've never heard of, couldn't link me to anything and failed miserably. I had these internet stalkers were obsessing over me. I was too busy working. I told my New York City attorney, Romeo Salta, about these ridiculous accusations, and then I completely forgot about them. If blundering morons want to feel important by using my name to advance themselves, I find it pathetic. I repeat, never played any cat and mouse game online with anyone. I was impersonated, and all these so-called online detectives look like complete desperate fools. I have no idea who any of them are, and it's all laughable. Using me to propagate a fictitious story to gain attention is pretty low. You must be in two places at once to prove someone is posting online. It's impossible to prove. It never happened. I'm told these desperate fools even photoshopped images of me and staged crime scenes to look like my photos. I'm 100% aware of EXIF data and all things related to computer forensics. I've studied it in school. None of this nonsense ever happened, and I don't Photoshop images of myself. I never had any alias internet accounts. I rarely, if ever, was online. I dare anyone to prove otherwise, but I guarantee it's impossible. I laugh at fake news, and so should you. Why not? I started as a teen. I worked as a model in Italy and was there many times. I did private photo shoot collections for wealthy businessmen. I was also in a few runway shows for a friend. I began working as a high-end male escort in Toronto. I worked all over Canada. I lived in Los Angeles, Hollywood, Miami, Chicago, Las Vegas, and New York City. I always had my condos and homes provided to me. My clients paid me a lot of money, and I, in return, provided a very valuable service. It was all completely legitimate. People were always jealous of me since I was in the best cars and clothes. I also always had more jewelry than anyone. I prefer jewelry over money. My life mirrored the film Casino. I was always traveling, and I lived and worked in over 38 different countries. I lived and worked in Moscow, Russia for quite some time, Asia, South America, and the Middle East. As I've stated, most people will never know anything about my life. For the record, my career for 10 years was a top male escort. I worked briefly at a gentleman's club in Toronto as an exotic dancer, making a lot of money, and as a video model. I was never, ever an actor, nor a porn star. As a favor to a friend, I did a few adult films and was paid extremely well. That is hardly considered working as a porn star. I was a male model and a very successful escort. So folks, don't believe fake news or the media's ridiculous clickbait propaganda. Of course not. From the beginning, I was convicted in the media before I ever entered a courtroom. The hysterical idiots in the press make it almost impossible for anyone to get a fair trial. The idiotic police bungled everything from the beginning. They failed to properly secure the crime scene, failed to interview key witnesses. They misplaced deliberately key evidence. They leaked lies constantly to the press. I never ever lived at that apartment in Montreal where this happened. It was strictly in place. I brought clients. Every escort needs another second place to bring dates. I never spent any time there unless I had a date. And I certainly never associated with they realized I wouldn't say a goddamn thing to them. They tried to get me to trust informants. They threatened me, but nothing worked. These Canadian police sure are stupid. I can't decide who's stupider, the losers in the Toronto Police Force or the imbeciles in the Montreal Police. The cops are the biggest attention-seeking people I've ever seen. Every chance they get, they go in front of the cameras, they do interviews, films, participate in books. They're Hall of Fame hypocrites, sanctimonious, pontificating demagogues. My lawyer was constantly leaking everything I said to him, to his Canadian broadcaster friends. He was also a big attention seeker. I never wanted anything to do with any insanity defense. I have nothing wrong with my mental health and never did. You might be wondering why I went with an insanity defense and where all the supporting documents came from. I'll explain that soon. Seriously though, people need to get a life and stop talking about me. My trial is over, so move the fuck on. So of course I never received a fair trial. It was almost impossible to find a partial jury. When we did find 12 that appeared usable, they turned out to be completely incapable and really stupid. There was a lot of jury misconduct. One juror actually worked for the lead detective's husband at his store. So imagine having a trial and a juror worked for the detective's husband. Another juror was blabbing at a party that she believed I was guilty and made up her mind already. The party guests contacted the court. Some jurors stole evidence, and to top it all off, the jury deliberation room was broken into, and surveillance tapes at the courthouse were missing. It was never addressed who broke into the deliberation room. There was a big conspiracy at the Palace of Justice, let's just say that. The prosecutor was extremely corrupt, in my opinion. He was threatening my doctors to arrest them if they testified in my favor. It's true, people just need to look it up. That's a fact. The prosecutor was so desperate to get a conviction, he ended up looking like a madman. The prosecution hired their own psychiatrist. Their psychiatrist was a director of Pinel Institution, and the psychiatrist, I'm told, was bad-mouthing me long before trial on TV. So why the hell would I want to speak with the Crown psychiatrist when the asshole clearly is extremely biased? He went on a media campaign against me, and even the judge screamed at him in court and banished him from the courtroom for making disrespectful gestures to me. This Crown psychiatrist, I'm told, was sued in the past for hundreds of thousands of dollars for his courtroom lies and errors. So when people are curious as to why I never spoke with the prosecution psychiatrist, those are the reasons. And I had every right not to speak with this biased, pontificating, fat old fool. He was an attention-seeking hypocrite. The judge was always obsessed with his media coverage. He made dreadful comments about me throughout the trial. I had a lot of grounds for appeal, but the liars in the press make Canada's legal system almost impossible with their sensationalization of stories. So no, absolutely not. I never received a fair trial. The Canadian justice system is completely unfair. My trial was rushed. Witnesses lied and perjured themselves. The prosecutors were appalling. The judge was very biased. The police were two-faced, bungling imbeciles, and the jurors were complete idiots, incapable of seeing the facts. The fact is, I was the real victim, and a lot of things were covered up. My trial was corrupt, and I was the victim of abuse. I'm bewildered by this fake narrative. I've avoided the spotlight at all costs for the last 10 years. I refused every internet interview request I've gotten begging for an interview. I forgot this idiot's name, but I agreed to allow him to help me out with this rumor and clear it up. He kept calling me afterwards, but I ignored him. It was clear he was unstable and obsessed with me. I can't even remember his name. It's pure defamation. People linking me to this woman. It's slander, saying I started it. It was all obsessed internet stalkers. I denied it, and people need to move on. At my trial, I was forced to admit to wildly bizarre lies by my defense team in order to obtain an NCR defense. My lawyers would bring me lies told about me and insist I agree to them in order to appear sick at trial. I refused to admit to these stupid lies, but I was pressured and told it was the only way to obtain a non-criminally responsible verdict. As I've said, these doctor reports are complete lies, and people need to stop referencing them to push their fake news narrative. I never was involved with this rumor, and I completely deny all connections. People need to just move on and stop lying. It's all fake news. Why? Because I worked at a funeral home in the past. I worked for 6 months as an assistant and enjoyed it when I was a teen. People can lie all they want about me, but I'll tell the truth about them. It was all a lie, orchestrated by lawyers to obtain a not criminally responsible defense. It all started when I was a teen. My manager forced me to work as a teen escort, and then came up with the idea to get even more money selling prescription drugs on the black market. So I was forced to see doctors, a lot of them, and pretend to have issues. They would write prescriptions for sedatives, and my manager would sell the drugs on the black market for large amounts of money. This created a large paper trail, which was used at trial to exploit the system. None of this was my idea, and I was actually the victim of domestic abuse throughout my life. My manager even forced me to check into different hospitals to make the stories more believable and obtain more sedatives. It was all against my will. I never ever had any psychiatric issues. I didn't take any of those medications, and I take no medications now. Nothing is wrong with my father in any way, and we all just laugh at these stupid stories. Firstly, I have zero contact with any of my relatives, so don't believe their fake news comments. My mother and I have zero relationship. She contacted me blabbing about some stupid book she was writing with some idiotic co-author. I agreed to see her briefly to work on it, and I quickly kicked her out of my life. The idiotic co-author, I spoke with him once by phone, and that's it. He seemed very unprofessional and borderline idiotic. I refused to promote I refused to even promote this book of lies and ignored it. I didn't even read it. I'm told it was all incoherent ramblings and blatant disregard for the truth. And as for you telling me people are claiming to be in relationships with me, it's all lies. I don't even know any of these people. I don't know who any of them are. I'm told some irrelevant losers who posed for pics with me in the past, or I had brief encounters with, spin lies to gain attention. None of my past relationships comment on me. My ex-fiancés don't comment on me, and anyone claiming otherwise is a complete liar and con artist. Nobody I know speaks with the press, so the lying fake news media interviews irrelevant nobodies I've never met to peddle their papers. Precisely the trickery I despise from the press. I have zero communication with my relatives. My choice. John Bitteroff was a client of mine, and so was Manny Lopez. I was the victim of domestic abuse. While I was living at the Leaside Towers in Toronto, my condo was broken into by Manny Lopez, and he brutally assaulted me. The police in Toronto were completely useless and did nothing. I lived in New York City, and I gave police there info, but the idiotic cops had tunnel vision on me. Yes, folks, the Toronto police are incompetent imbeciles. They have bungled countless cases and are completely useless. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Next. I was engaged to my ex-fiancé, Ron. He was involved with the Russian mafia. It's no secret. They played a big part in my life. My life was exactly like the Sopranos in every way. It's the biggest enemy of the people. As you've heard, almost everything reported about me has been a complete lie, and the picture painted is completely false. Society doesn't need the mainstream media any longer since social media exists. Society has once again been fooled by the fake news media. They are corrupt as hell, and laws need to be passed to prevent this from happening again. I'm not answering this stupid question. Next. Absolutely not. More fake news. Next. I was vacationing and seeing clients. My lawyer was being harassed by a predatory tabloid reporter from the London press. My lawyer and I had an appointment with the paper's legal department. We didn't just show up. Then the predatory reporter followed me to a hotel where I was seeing a client. He secretly recorded me saying absolutely nothing. Then I left. This idiot started posting on his social media for millions to see that he just met me. So if he posted online, he just met me, and millions of people seen it, it wasn't a secret. Then 3 days later, he received some threatening email which he falsely accused me an inability to deal in facts. I never made any videos speaking with myself. My client screen recorded me while I was working as a video cam model. People only receive parts of the truth. The parasites in the media destroy the truth to advance their agendas. Society needs to learn how to see through their propaganda machine. I also never went by the name Vladimir, and am bewildered as to why that name is being attributed to me. I don't have any interest in anything produced about me. I don't watch anything about me. It's all lies and fake news, force-fed to society by the corrupt media. The stories they spin are eye-catching, but are simply works of fiction. Pay zero attention